Welcome back to HGC EU week number 9, where the second match of today has gotten off to an amazing start. Roll20 comes out of the gate swinging, taking the victory in Cursed Hollow, but Leftovers not to be denied. Look pretty strong on Infernal Shrine, so it's even 1-for-1. I think that's coming to the surprise of a lot of people.
Save Diablo, save the world. That's basically what it looks like right now. Ban Tyrande and you're golden. And yeah, so far it looks good. I mean, Mobsio is back in his element. They banned Tyrande, no more kill potential. The one-shot combo is gone. And then all of a sudden, it's their way to victory. But then again, granted, there were a couple of moments where it looked like Roll20 might be able to turn this around. So, Game 3.
We're about to find out Game 3. Let's see what Battleground we're going to. The momentum is certainly building for the Leftovers, and they opt to take us to Tomb of the Spider Queen. Roll20 had an amazing performance that put such a smile on Caldor's face last week. I like this choice.
Yeah.
So many positive things to say.
I wonder how to phrase it. It was the worst performance I've ever seen on Tomb that resulted in a team winning.
You know, that was a weird game.
Every single player on that lineup would agree. Like, I mean, Quacknix afterwards in the interview said basically the exact same thing. Is that like, yeah, that map. Can we just forget about that? No, but again, nerves were an issue. I like the synergy wasn't there. We are going to see a very, very different game here. 100%. Like, that's not going to be repeated. The calls that we saw from Quacknix today already was so much better. Last week, it was an important series. You have Granite Gaming versus Roll20. You know every map matters. It's the first one. Everybody is just like a little bit shaken at the start, and that was reflected in the calls that were made on the map. The reason why I was looking a bit more hesitant when I saw the map was mostly because I was thinking, okay, who has the upper hand here? And with a 4-1 track record, Leftovers looks good. They also picked the map, I mean, for that reason. Roll20 isn't looking too bad here. 2 wins, 4 losses. Again, with their map record throughout the entire phase, that isn't bad.
Right.
So, yes, they might not be on a positive win rate here, but they only won 28% of their games throughout the entire phase. So this is still a pretty decent map for them. And they are picking up the wins towards the end now. So I'm okay with that. Like, the shot calling of Quark can definitely give an early advantage to them if they play their cards right.
I like the psychological advantage that the Leftovers afford themselves by taking Tomb of the Spider Queen. You're dealing with a team that's built up a lot of momentum going into week 9. They take game number 1, you come back and win game number 2, and take them to a map where they did have a less than stellar performance on Tomb of the Spider Queen. Are we going to see a, some kind of recession? Do we see them go back to more timid play style? I mean, I like this. Like, I just like getting in an opponent's head in a game.
From Roll20's perspective, I wouldn't be worried because it can't get worse. So, like, you already set the bar at the bottom. You definitely know. Okay, we established the baseline. This is the worst you can play while still winning. So we can only go up from here.
Caldor targets B7. Ooh, hit.
Hey, why? It's
Sinks Roll20's back.
No, it's a positive. You established the bottom line, now you're aiming for the top.
Can't get any worse than that.
No, but like, I seriously expect a very, very different game, especially, of course, with Tyrande coming in now. Yeah. All of a sudden are in a spot where you can go for these roaming kill compositions a lot more than before. I wouldn't be shocked in the slightest if Leftovers bans her again, and that's what we immediately see.
I think Mobsio is going to see to it personally that Tyrande hangs out at the top of that screen for the rest of the series. The way he died in Cursed Hollow every time the Digi got pressed on him, he doesn't want to deal with that again. He looked like an entirely different player. Diablo looked like an entirely different hero as long as Tyrande's not there.
But look at that. Ooh. That ban on Garrosh from Roll20 basically says, hey, we want Diablo. So, Leftovers, you can, if you want, ban Diablo, but we just ban Garrosh. That's 2 tanks already gone. Then we're going to pick Muradin early on. And then you find yourself still with a couple of tanks around like Johanna. There's no problem with that. But you're limiting your pool and your push bars into the direction where we want you to be. And they take it. They take the gamble.
If the Tyrande ban was the Unguard, the Garage ban was the Touche for sure. Okay, they're going to first pick Urel, though, so potentially Muradin gets picked up in a 1-2, and they put themselves in that position.
No, not quite, because with them picking Urel first, what they are basically saying is, okay, we have 2 tanks here that really shine and that we respect on the same level. That's Garrosh, Diablo. Outside of that, we feel that Muradin and Johanna are on the same level. We don't care what from the 2 we get. We just want to make sure that you don't take one of the power picks. So it's not going to be a choke out on the tanks. It's just that those 2 are perceived to be higher than the others. but you're fine no matter what you get from here on out. If you get the Johanna, you go into the wave clear battle. If you get Muradin, you go more for like the stun setup, but they are fine with whatever. It's just that they respect Urel so much that they're saying, okay, we need to secure that first.
They do decide to go for Decker Kane and Genji first. They like the closeout potential of Genji, and Decker Kane did look like he was a really hard problem for Roll20 to solve as far as his overall sustain goes, and the playmaking potential to stay a while and listens. They were pretty on point. Going into the second ban phase, leftovers, they look on the other side. They have a support. Roll20 doesn't. I look to ban one myself again.
I would ban Johanna if I'm Roll20 now. You're in a spot where all of a sudden, I actually expect the leftovers to at least take their own tank in the first rotation and then give leftovers the other. Now you are in a spot where basically leftovers already signals to you that, okay, ban her out. It's fine. We have something else planned that we can take anyways. I would still do them the favor, because if Roll20 doesn't ban Johanna, she's very likely taken anyways. She's banned out now, so what are you left with? Do you go into an Anubara composition? Do you actually risk playing with a Blaze ETC composition instead on the off lane and that? So I'm liking the way Roll20 is playing that. From a mind game perspective, from the draft here, I really like the setup. The Garrosh early responses Diablo, then you switch it over on the off lane, you still get your Muradin because Leftovers doesn't respect it. Now you get the ban against Johanna.
You think Stitches is in the conversation?
Could be, but there's ETC. So ETC taken, and I would say with ETC we're going to see Blaze on the off lane, and if I'm Roll20, I'm okay with that. It's not that ETC is horrible, but ETC has weaknesses, and we have seen these weaknesses in Europe over the last 2 weeks a lot. He can be bursted down, he has hit point pool issues, and that can be exploited.
Well, the big thing is, with the ETC pickup, the conversation Roll20 right now is having is, Rainer, you stay back if he goes for Mosh Pit. You're not pressing key, like the Q key, until you see the Mosh Pit go down. They also have other knockbacks in form of Urel. You have Muradin. And now with Hanzo getting picked up, if you want to use the Dragon Arrow to interrupt that, you have that. Also, a lot of sound responses to one of the big reasons why you potentially take ETC. Stage Dive, I don't think it would net a ton of value here.
No.
So I think it's going to be a Mosh Pit.
I mean, the only thing that you could see, and again, it's not going to happen, but what you could see is a main tank like Stitches taken and an ETC on the off lane, but that's not the map for it. So Blaze is a no-brainer here. If you play ETC, you're finding yourself in a very similar situation to what we discussed in the earlier series with the Nubarak, that you want to have something to help him with the sustain. There's no one else right now that's still available outside of Blaze, so you go for Blaze. It's not a bad lineup, don't get me wrong. It's not like I look at the ETC and I'm saying, hey, with ETC Blaze, that's unwinnable. But it's definitely a lot harder from your... It's not as forgiving as when you're playing with a Johanna or any other hero that is more tanky on his own. You overstep with ETC once, you misuse a cooldown, you get caught with a power slide down or face melt down, and you die. So from Opsio's perspective, it puts more pressure onto him. It's still a decent draft for them. They have a couple of really strong heroes with this, but I feel Roll20 looks at that and says like, we're good with this. This is fine.
I agree. I actually think they got the upper hand in the draft overall. The Warrior ban Gambit, I think, slanted over towards them. With the ETC, they've turned the asset of the front line into potential liability because ETC is nowhere near as sustainable as Diablo. So I think this is the draft that Roll20 wanted. Last week in our interview, they said as long as we get the draft we want, we feel really good about our chances. So they look to go up in this series.
Leftovers still have some synergies here. So if ETC gets a decent power slide in the rotation to the bot lane, for example, off into a jet propulsion, into Gul'dan damage, that can be a kill. So there's still potential for aggression.
And the Horrify.
That we have on that part, yeah. So and as we see them, we go onto the left side again with Link currently playing on Deckard Kane, Kidney on Genji, Polyboss playing on Blaze here today, Mopsio on ETC as we just talked about, and DAB for the Leftovers once more on Gul'dan.
Over on the right side, we have the members of Roll20 Esports. Climax is on Rainer. Chris is playing Hanzo. Robodoba playing the frontline Muradin. Zarmany will be jumping on your rail and shadow around things out with the white main.
All right. Let's see how the ETC works out for them. Not a horrible pick by any means, but definitely something that Roll20 steered them towards.
Well, I think it's going to give Roll20 opportunities to get a second-tier engagement. What I mean by that is ETC resources from Decker Kane have to be spent to keep him alive, and then that opens up a possibility for Roll20 to jump on the back line and get the secondary target taken. I really want to see how well these power slides and face melts work out for Mopsio.
he has to be careful with this. We had a few teams that were now dabbling and playing ETC again, but it's always hinging on who does play with ETC in the team. And with Blaze, that's actually doable because you have that added bunker, but ETC is struggling a bit on the hit point pool and survivability that other heroes in that particular role just are excelling a little bit better at. But right now, the Mirrodin setup again for Roll20. But also, I mean, outside of that, another hero, we talk a lot about the tank channel, but Gul'dan for DAB again. And DAB has played a fantastic second game. So he's going to try and mirror that performance that he had on Gul'dan in the last game.
One of, if not the best Gul'dans in EU. Right there in the hands of the leftovers. I like the understanding of the overall position Roll20 has. They know the leftovers are looking to get value off of the ETC early. They need to. They need to get those early ganks. They need the power slide. They need to follow up with Decker Kane. By Roll20, every second that passes where they deny that and then get towards the late game, I think it goes in their favor.
Yeah, of course you are in a situation where you want to roll again with the advantage here in terms of experience and turn-ins. And that's something. We're making a bit of fun earlier about the Roll20 match against Granite Gaming on this particular map, where Roll20 had huge trouble in the decision-making process in the late game. But the one thing we shouldn't forget when we talk about that game is that in the mid-game, Roll20 did actually fantastic. They did really well and always established a lead over Granite Gaming. It was really well done. So if they have a similar approach to the game now and then just sharpen that decision-making a little bit from last week, this is definitely something where they can get ahead. But right now, it's the leftovers who are more so pushing the agenda.
For teams, I actually kind of like when games run really long because from a shot calling mental perspective, having to be active for 30, 40 minutes over the course of one game is definitely something of an endurance test. So by Roll20 able to pass that test and win the Tuna Spider Queen game last week, they could look to do that again. Nice Stormbolt from Robodoba. Link is going to be able to back up. Power Slide goes out into Zarmany. Podaboss goes in, whiffs the jet propulsion, eats a good amount of damage. Zarmany steps forward. Quacknix is getting what damage in it they can. They're looking for a takedown.
Yeah, they're pushing this back very aggressively. But as everything is said and done, the mid-wall has fallen, and that's a leading experience for the leftovers. It's also worthy pointing out that we have 11 stacks already for Gul'dan. So DAB is already done to 25% of his quest, and that's where we saw him last time do severe work. Nice Stormbolt against him, though, and that is the kill. A great play here by Roll20. Fantastic flank.
No mobility on the mage. You get caught out like that, you're going to have a pretty bad time. That paved the way for Roll20 to turn in as many gems as they feel like in the top half of the map. 25-15. Podaboss down bottom finds Zarmany jumping out onto them. Urel pretty much never loses a lane. Blaze, all they have to do is just stay alive.
That was a great kill. Because, as you said, from on the back of that kill, they could immediately go into the turning point. And if not for Urel locked into that one-on-one on the bot lane, that would already be the first turn-in for them. But here comes DAB swinging, and once more goes in and drops another Echoed Corruption. 14 stacks for him right now, really working on that. 13 stacks, by the way, also on the side of Mirrodin. Stormbolt for Robodoba coming in quickly to complete that quest talent. Trying to go for Mopsio here again. Hits that, dodges out, and therefore also on the power slide. But yeah, nice aggressive follow-up here. I like it. Pretty much from the get-go, both of these teams are signaling, hey, we want to take the lead here in the series. We want to win this one.
I think leftovers, they've shown if they get the engagement and coordination that they're looking for, power slide into a Decker Kane route, and especially once that corruption quest is completed, that could be more than a problem for Whitemane, and more often than not, it's going to be a takedown on a hero like Whitemane or Rain or anyone on the back line. You might even be able to come away with a takedown on Mirrodin. If you land that lockdown and that kind of burst damage, DAB is up for the task.
Link just got a free turn-in too. He only had 6 gems, but still something to at least be conscious about, because now we're having leftovers taking the lead here. Again, the attempt to go for Mopsio. Missing out on that a bit, but he's really stacking those Stormbolts quickly. He's sitting at 17 already, and that's going to help. But as we said before, leftovers are starting to look towards the turn-in. They confirm the first one, so they get the weapon away.
18 stacks on the corruption in 5 minutes. That's not that bad. Leftovers come away with the first set of web weavers, and they already did a good amount of damage to the mid lane. Podaboss rotating down bottom. Roll20 looking for Blaze. Shad on a chase. Yeah, he knows that there's very little chance he's getting this.
Yeah, he's going to fall eventually. No, he's going to die. That's also an annoying kill. It's 9 gems that you lose. That in itself is not too crazy. The problem is that you have so many heroes focusing on the bot lane as the web weavers come in that it's a bit of a free push here in the middle, and that's a 4 taken. Now remember, that wall was already down, but the fort is gone. But it helps you at least with the defense towards the top a bit because your opponent finds themselves in that 5 versus 4 situation.
Clever ruse. Oftentimes I'm like, it'd probably be easier to just die right away. But if you buy time to come away at the first fort of the game and get yourself towards the rocks, not too shabby a play. Robodoba eats a good amount of damage. Robodoba does step forward. Mopsio backs out. They got what they're looking for. They got the middle fort. They got a good amount of value in the top lane. And it all came off of 1 death for Blaze. I take that trade every day.
Yeah, half-level lead. The 10 is going to be the important one. It's just like the 9 gems that were lost. Doesn't really sound like much, but that might be the difference between getting a second turn and not getting that.
Definitely have an impact. And in HGC, having the monopoly and control over the turn-ins, especially on this Battleground, is of paramount importance. He's going to get the siege camp down bottom. No one's any the wiser on Roll20 for that. Leftovers have been getting a lot of value out of prioritizing these camps and then pushing in.
Yeah, right now Leftovers can't make a play for a second turn. That's just not going to work for them. It doesn't map out that way. Roll20 is going to get their own level 10, and then they can try and get a turn in themselves. And if they do that, this can turn around quickly. So the situation isn't really too bad for Roll20, despite the fact that they lost the fort in the mid lane. So that lead can be negated. There's a camp taken that allows for a bit of pressure there. You have to defend at the bot lane. As long as Zarmi doesn't die with his 40 gems, they're all looking good.
That was a cheeky jump forward. I don't think he had full confirmation of where the entire team of Leftovers was. So the moment he jumped forward in the jet propulsion range, could have been interesting. He's doing it again. I mean, I guess he sees ETC and Genji in the mid lane, so it's a much more safer prospect. But 43 gems, if in any instance he loses those without turning those in, that's a disaster for Roll20.
I mean, as long as you have your trade on your rel, you're still going to be fine. And the thought process is just you want to push the siege giants in, but as long as you still have the options to jump out, you're going to be okay there. So he wasn't really too threatened. There's not enough damage outside of cooldown to really get a quick kill there, unless there's an ETC with a mosh pit that really locks you down and doesn't allow you to make a play anymore. But now we have 10 versus 10, and this is now the moment where Roll20 wants to turn in. They have 78 gems, so they have enough for basically 2 turn-ins with what's going to tickle in now during that phase. And this is also the moment where Roll20 can actually start to get ahead in experience if they get enough structural damage in.
They're looking to take a trip to the other side of the map. They haven't really been able to do so outside of that gank on Gul'dan in the earlier portions of the game. Web Weavers are here. Quack is going to knock Cody Boss back. With these lanes already pushed in Caldor, they don't stand to get too much value out of this, I feel. But with the back-to-back turn-ins, if they do get another takedown, they could look to wrap things up there. But the long-range Dragon Arrow connects, no follow-up.
Yeah, it was more so designed to hit that front line, but everybody dodged out except for Deckard Cain, so it didn't quite do what they were hoping for here. But now we have the push on 3 lanes. So at the top, Gul'dan is going to defend this one easily. Down here, bit of a different story. Quacknix wants to make sure that he at least gets some value, meaning wants to get some turrets. And you can see that gap in experience between the two teams already shrinking very, very rapidly. So Roll20 is starting to catch up and is now shifting their attention more so to the bot lane to drop at least 2 more towers and get their level 12.
Wherever Gul'dan isn't, Roll20 stands to have a lot of siege potential because the wave clear just isn't there. I like that. Yrel is already mounted up, waiting for the rotation from ETC and DAB. There they are. Robodoba steps forward, lands the Stormbolt, no follow-up. Power Slide goes out, just misses Quacknix. Unstoppable is going to bail him out. Zarmi jumps forward. Robodoba looking to get involved potentially too. Without Dragon Arrow, that would be a dicey engagement.
Yeah, everybody's currently playing around the mosh pit cooldown. ETC is just posturing and is trying to set himself up here, and everybody else is trying to make sure they don't clump, so they spread out and always keep the stuns in different places so that someone can use it if Mopsio is dropping the ult. And so far he didn't, but now the turn-in is there, and both of the teams have enough gems to secure one.
Every time Roll20 dances around with Leftovers, I'm a little concerned for them because they have to worry about not only the mosh pit, but DAB has been landing some money horrifies throughout the course of this series. It's not going to be too much for him to step forward and isolate the front line, take somebody down. Dragon Arrow goes in. It's a tumbleweed rolling right to left, not going to connect with anyone. Mopsio, they had to see that. They might look to get aggressive.
Yeah, that was unfortunate for them. That was the second one that Chris hit that didn't quite connect here. And there's the kill against Yrel. Very well done. Great kill on the side of Leftovers. And that's, of course, an immediate turn-in. The 13 talent here gave them such a small advantage. it's a small advantage, but it's one that really matters. So they use that to their advantage right away, get the turn in on top of that, and that's a really cool position to be in, especially since they're already dropping the bottom fort without the web weavers. They can now either focus at the top or trying to go straight for a keep.
That's the synergy and playmaking capability of Leftovers. When you catch out of URL, the URL player's like, it's okay, I have Ardent Defender. It's not like I'm gonna, oh wait, Horrify. I can't actually use Ardent Defender, I'm dead. That's what we see pretty much anytime ETC and Gul'dan are gonna be able to pair up. DAB making plays with the mage heroes.
Yeah, DAB is currently looking for those chances. And his Horrify is going to be up in another 20 seconds. And that's now the moment when you get the top fort for more or less free. At least it's going to be a lot of damage, and they are pushing through the bot lane. Now this is defendable. It doesn't mean that you're going to get that that keep, but as long as you drop that wall, you open that up for later on, and you open that win condition. And they are getting way ahead in experience, thanks to them dropping also inner turrets now.
Leftovers are proven to be workhorses in this series. They're not going for big plays. They get a keep wall and they come back later. It gives them a level experience advantage. They pretty much won game 2 based off of that alone. They're going to push in through the bot lane. Meanwhile, the web weavers were able to go through the entire keep wall. So we were just talking about a slight experience lead, and that ballooned into a huge lead.
Yeah, getting those structures, top fort, mid towers, bot towers, that helps you to just set yourself super far ahead. And right now, Roll20 can't do very little about this. Leftovers can just siege up at the bot lane if they want.
I don't see why they would not. I mean, they have Horrify, they have Stay a While and Listen.
I mean,
Mosh Pit's still available.
You could make a play for boss once the web weavers are down, but the keep is just so juicy down here.
It would be a long rotation, and I think they're just like, well, what are they really going to do to us here? Power Slide goes out. There's a nice Dragon Arrow on the 3 heroes. Robodoba does step forward. Stay a while and listen on just the Dwarf, the Poda Boss. Jet Propulsion afterwards is just going to allow DAB to get a few more stacks. They got enough damage on the bottom keep. They're looking to back out.
Yeah, they're waiting for the minions. So here comes the Horrify, trying to find a kill. Mosh Pit, baby! And that's Arena. And they're immediately going straight for the second kill. Genji is having a field day here. Moves in with one swift strike after another. It's party time as the cow goes to town. And that's 2 kills. That's going to be a keep, and then they can still rotate straight into the boss if they don't want to go for core here.
Blood on the dance floor, and with that stagger takedown, Mopsio and Recruiter, like, we're looking in this game right now. What's White Man and Hanzo going to do? 20 seconds before Dragon Arrow's up, a few seconds before we see any other hero show up for Roll20. So the core is down to 70%. Leftovers, they take a huge gamble on the bot lane, pays off on big time with the tier advantage, and they come ahead in this series looking like 2-1.
Great victory by Leftovers. They take the lead in the series, shut down Roll20 on Tomb. Good fight at the bot lane here. And with them taking out 3 heroes, they're not even moving back up to the boss and trying to secure a second keep. Can go straight for core here, 5 versus 2. And that was a great mosh pit. The only mosh pit that we saw from him in this game. And it was absolutely worth it. Netted them 2 kills and opened up the opportunity to finish the game.
Mom just said, I only need 1. He definitely is able to close the game out. We were talking about, like, all right, they'll get the bottom keep wall. They'll get some structures. It'll give them an experience lead. But what we saw there was the explosive playmaking potential that the Leftovers have. They go through the bottom keep wall, even missing the Horrify. They still get takedowns and stagger things out to make their way to the core. Impressive play from them.
Now, and let's bring us back to the draft. We talked about the 2 tanks that were banned at the start, and that the pick on of ETC is something that Roll20 basically led them to.
Right.
And it is a composition that gets punished if you don't make the right moves, but Mopsio played this game absolutely perfectly. Like, he always kept himself back. He never went into the PPL for his team. He never tried desperately to land a mosh pit or make a huge play there. But when the moment came, he was ready for it, and that was the important part. So it was a draft that was a lot more squishy and was on the execution level, demanded a lot more from the players. But it can still do a lot of work. We saw those follow-ups from Potibots, for example, onto every single stun that was prevented, and that was set up. And that was something that was actually really well coordinated by Leftovers, and it snowballed really well for them. But again, from a draft perspective, I think Roll20 was very happy with what they got and also what they pushed their opponent in. But it doesn't necessarily mean that the draft is going to lose. If you execute it well, you can still get a lot of value out of it, and that weakness, ETC has some weaknesses, but he also has strength, and Potibots played perfectly around. Mopsio played perfectly around both.
You can win the draft, but you still have to press the buttons at the end of the day. One of the two big reasons why I think ETC works so well is because the poke damage from DAB and the rest of leftovers allowed him to just hang back. He didn't have to go for a big play. And ETC, one of the psychological things about that hero is if you don't use the mosh pit, the enemy team has to worry about it. They have to position themselves like the power slack can come out at any time, and that allows a hero like Gul'dan to just get all the damage that they want to, so when someone is finally low and Genji's waiting to dash in on the back line, you really do only need one mosh pit to win the game.
Also, the Hanzo arrows haven't landed, so
Yeah.
I'm not trying to blame the loss or anything on Chris, but it's one of those situations where you throw out 2-3 arrows and they just don't create the opportunities that you want. The first one connects with Deckard Kane, but he's the one in the back. He's not what you're trying to hit. You're trying to hit the two that Murden can reach with a follow-up, and those step out. Then you have another one around the turn at the bot lane where the arrow also just barely missed out on connecting with anyone. If those hit, it's again a different story. You can create something, but it's again just another reminder that leftovers know exactly what to watch out for. They are looking at the opponent. They're saying, okay, what are the tools you have available? What do you need to be careful of? Okay, Hanzo's arrow, always a problem. When that comes out, call it and let's dodge out of harm's way. If that connects at any point, might be a different story, but as it stands, leftovers play a great map, very coordinated, and then take the lead with a 2-1.
Steady play. Game number 4 is ready. I'm curious to see if leftovers will shift their strategy. They definitely